He goes in his car, opens the door, puts the fucking thing in his passenger seat, or would put in his passenger seat check, because his whole car, at least half his car has been eaten. He goes, oh my God, and he fucking jumps out, and he's like, oh, and he fucking runs away. Hello, I just wanted to thank you for clicking on my video, and I wanted to let you know not only do I create content in my YouTube channel here, Class in a Glass, but I'm also on Twitch, where I play single-player games, multiplayer games. I do movie reviews, cartoon reviews, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Also, it would be a big help if you can check out my Patreon, where you can gain access to audio commentaries, reactions, and the ability to submit questions for my podcasts and videocasts. And all that content can be found in the links below. In the meantime, enjoy the video.
Giant?
Oh, God.
But now, chat, we must get to some of that content. That content being the Iron Giant. Now, chat, I like to start these reviews by asking you a very important question. And that question is, how many of you have seen Brad Bird's 1998 2D animated modern-day classic, chat, The Iron Giant? I'm very curious about this, chat. If you haven't, you should, goddammit, you should. You just see this when I was a kid. Same, my friend, same. Corbin, Juicy Gaines, goddamn right. I like that. Chris, I have Himmelberger. I've seen it. There's some I have a long time ago. Troy, I didn't see this until 3 years ago. It's good. Yeah, The Only Woman here. Good to see it. Stranger Shoe, never seen it. Corbin, the Iron Tin Can. Yeah, he's a big man. He's a big boy. Seen it when I was an old man. James, I've seen it. It's my favorite movie. It's a goddamn great movie, man. Victor Necrophone, Iron Giant is still good to this day. Absolutely, no question. No, top tier 2D animation. Film Freak. Hi, hello, Film Freak. Welcome to the stream. This is man, Chris. Watch video I sent. It's gonna get you one AM. I'll check it out, man. I'll definitely check it out. I'm not gonna watch it right now, so I'm in the middle of my review. Clad, you have indeed Blitzing Ears. No, I've never seen it. Joke, I'm 32 years old. Man, no, yes, I have. You're trying to bamboozle me. So it looks like a lot of you have seen this movie. Good, chat. Good. I too have seen this film many times over, chat. It is a classic. It's funny. We've all seen this film, and yet when it originally came out, chat, it was a commercial disaster for Warner Brothers, chat. And it's for a whole list of reasons. Why this happened. One, this was during the time period in the late 90s when studios started to move away from 2D animation and go towards 3D animation. As we all know, Pixar, they popularized 3D animated cinematic fare with Toy Story in 1995, and it just proliferated after that. And so you start to see all the studios be like, oh shit, audiences don't seem interested. I mean, the thing is, shit, like maybe they have a point. Like, audiences just didn't seem interested in 2D cinematic movies anymore. It's kind of sad. You know, I love 2D animation. As you guys know, I'm a Renaissance era Disney kid. I grew up on all that stuff in the 90s. I talked about how I owned like The Lion King, Aladdin, and all these other great Disney films and other, movies, animated movies that came out in like the late 80s and throughout the 90s. And those bubble boxes and those bubble pop boxes, owned all that. And studios moved away from it because I think of audience interest, sadly. And that was one of the reasons why what the movie suffered. Was I think because of that. Several other reasons being you had another Warner Brothers animated film called Quest for Camelot, which funny I've done a full-length video and audio commentary for, which is an infamous animated film. Also a critical and commercial flop for Warner Brothers, chat, and this affected how Warner Brothers marketed and released The Iron Giant. First of all, this whole film, which, it's kind of, you could say, is very much inspired by, like, E.T. You had, like, a boy and he encounters an alien, he has to keep away from the government, that kind of thing. Very, very, very similar stories. But for whatever reason, Warner Brothers said, let's just fucking put, like, a shit ton of, like, rock and roll and metal music in here and, like, sell it as this is the action-adventure story of a lifetime, which is not what it is. It's a wholesome tale about a boy and his robot and, making a friend. That's what the movie's about. And Warner Brothers is like, we do not give a fucking shit what the intentions of the movie is. We're going to try to make money and try to appeal to that edgy punk teen youth of the late 90s, the disenfranchised. I have no fucking clue, but the marketing of this movie had a tremendous impact on its lack of box office success. Even though it was a critical darling at the time, it did not get much attention from audiences. because I think the marketing was so bad for the movie. And it wasn't until it was released on VOD and VHS and DVD and on streaming and on television, chat, that it started to become more popular, that it started to actually, make all this money in the back. And that's why you fucking see all of a sudden, like, Iron Giant, like, Warner Brothers, they mistreated the Iron Giant to such a degree, it's sad. I think that's what also... because even during my commentary, I was thinking, like, I would love to see, Brad Bird do more animated fare for WB, and I realized this probably just soured that relationship, since they kind of fucked him over, and he's like, I'm done with that. That's why you always see him with Disney now, Chad, with doing stuff like The Incredibles and Ratatouille, and some of the, I wasn't a fan of what was that the George Clooney movie. The Tomorrowland or whatever, terrible film. But he also did that Mission Impossible movie, not related to Disney. But I was like, that just makes me think maybe he just has a really bad relationship with Warner Brothers over this film. I get it. It makes a lot of sense. But nowadays, chat, because of the proliferation of the popularity of Iron Giant, you see him popping up constantly, Chad, in all sorts of Warner Brothers properties. One that are all about like commercials, because we're trying to like show off all of our various properties we own. You see the Iron Giant, chat, throughout the marketing and in Ready Player One, and now you see him again, pretty much in the same fucking exact role that he had in Ready Player One in Space Jam: A New Legacy. I'm like, listen, I'm glad the man is getting, I'm glad the Iron Giant, chat, is getting all the support and love, because he deserves it. But it's just funny to me how Warner Brothers could give a shit less about that movie when they originally released it, chat. But at least people recognize it as a modern day classic. I certainly do. I didn't see this in theaters, chat, because like few people did. People did. Like, the movie was it was a box office bomb when it came out. Had a budget of $50 million. It was like, it's a respectable budget. That's not as, big as you think of like a lot of animated films. But it had a box office, 31.3 million, chat. Box office bomb, despite very good reviews. Terrible marketing, sadly. I think I think audience disinterest has kind of sunk the movie. And it wasn't until years later that it started to make all of its money back on, VOD, as I was saying. But I love this film. I watched it many times throughout my youth. I think I owned a VHS copy of the film. Not in those bubble ones. This one didn't get a fucking bubble one. It was just like in those little cardboard VHS. I think I lost that tape like during like a move or something, which broke my heart. And so I haven't owned it since. I want to buy it again eventually, Chad, on Blu-ray. That's a movie that I would buy again and own. Like, I'm trying to cut down on, physical objects in my life. I want less things in general. Shit, like I have all these books, and it's like I have nowhere to put them. But it's like there are some Blu-rays and certain things that I'm like, I would like to just own a physical thing of this. And Iron Giant's one of those goddamn movies, chat. Because I've watched this film many times over. Had not seen it in the last few years though. It has been a while, so just rewatching again for the watch party again was an absolute pleasure. Doing that with my very generous patrons. Informed me of some shit I had no idea about. There's some dark history to this movie. It just reignited my interest and wanted to talk about it with you guys, and also do a full video and audio commentary for the film. There's a little information from Corbin. Warner Bros. Started to lose faith in the feature animation department. Warner Bros. Feature animation after the commercial critical flop Quest for Femma. So they left the production of the Iron Giant alone. So they gave Brad Bird and his crew the film creative freedom. And when test screens for this came out, W stayed with some of the highest scores they saw at the time. They pushed the release date up to the summer of '99. Yeah, but then no one saw it. And I think the marketing for the movie was terrible. It was sad. It was sad, chat. Sucks how WB loves making Iron Giant cameos nowadays, which sure is a slap in the face of those originally worked on it, like they're earning any royalties. No, yeah, those creators, I don't learn shit. Maybe Brad Bird is. I don't think anyone else is. I mean, maybe Brad Bird's not earning nothing. I don't know. That's a very good question. That's a very goddamn good question. Yeah, man, Corbin, I gotta read fast. I gotta get this moving groove. I always have to read fast. Yeah. That's a damn shame, chat. But some interesting and very sad history about this movie, chat. So you'll notice throughout the Iron Giant, it has a very anti-violence, anti-gun thorough line throughout it, chat. I mean, the whole thing is that the Iron Giant's like, I'm not a gun. That's not what it is. I'm not made for violence, even though he probably fucking was. Because this thing is like made by aliens to go to Earth, and he's filled with all sorts of weapons. It's like, what was the original purpose of the Iron Giant? Probably as a weapon of fucking war, chat. We'll talk about that in a bit. But the whole message is, it's like, despite who you are, that's not what your choices are. You're not defined by that. You can make your choice to not be that. And that's like a big through line in the movie. It's very, anti-gun. And I learned recently, chat, through my viewers, my patrons, that the reason that the movie has this. Actually, well, it wasn't the original intention. Brad Bird added that, chap, because his sister was murdered by her husband. He shot her. And he killed himself, too. It was a murder-suicide. And I had no idea about this. I was like, wow. And it's like, but I can see how that horrible traumatic experience informed him and him wanting to include that in the movie, this anti-gun, this anti-violence message. And it works for the film. It absolutely does. So I was like, with that context, it just makes certain things even sadder. Thank you for the 5 minutes. That even pops up in Incredibles 2, Bob Odenkirk's character's speech about how the reason he wants, that's true, Serves back because his dad was shot and killed during the robbery, and he thinks the superheroes hadn't been outlawed. His dad was, that's a good point. I never thought about that. Yeah, I totally forgot. I'm not the biggest fan of Incredibles 2, but that more context for that scene and how, how that particular scene probably means even a lot more to Brad Bird than we originally realized. That's good. Yeah. James, another reason why the Iron Giant flopped because Warner Brothers didn't put a release date at all at the tribute to the market for it. They spent tons of money on the marketing and the merchandise for Wow West. Terrible. It's a very good message, Chad. No, it's a very good message. It was one of the first animated movies that I think I had seen. I mean, there might be others that come to mind, and maybe it's just so fresh in my memory. I remember like it had this anti-violence message throughout it, which I thought was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty special. I think that's one of the one of the big reasons why the movie is still in the pop culture zeitgeist and why it still kind of tugs at the heartstrings. Chat. I mean, this movie will make you cry. You watch it when you're little kids, like, oh my god, what happens? It's very sad, chat. Fucking Iron Giant's more of Superman than fucking Henry Cavill's ever been Superman. I'll tell you that much, chat. Yeah, that's how it is. I'd rather take Vin Diesel, who can, as an Iron Giant man who can barely talk, over that sociopath who's throwing people through buildings constantly, chat. Iron Giant's more Superman than Henry Cavill's Superman. I'm telling you what, that's how it is, chat. But chat, before I start getting mad again, we got to get into the nitty-gritty details, chat. We start. The year is 1957, chat. We're in the middle of the Cold War, okay? America versus the Soviet Union, those goddamn Ruskies. And you know what those red sons of bitches did, chat? They put a fucking unmanned satellite, the first one in history, chat, in the space. Those foreigners beat us to it, chat. And that's what we see. We go, boop. Boop. We see little Sputnik as it spin around this blue dirt ball, chat. And this is kind of like a show like, yeah, bullshit. You fucking mud people. You goddamn monkeys. You put up a little, like a toaster-sized satellite there. The Martians, we're throwing down a weapon of fucking war, a true WMD. That's what we have for you. And as soon as we see little Sputnik doing its last little spin, chat, we see what appears to be a giant fucking meteor, metallic meteor, crashing to Earth, chat, going right into there. Boom! And then we cut, chat, and we're in Maine. Where was it? We're like in Rock Ridge, Maine or something. I think it's Maine. It's Maine, chat. It's the setting of most of Stephen King's novels, which is fucking horrifying. I would never live there, chat. I would never visit, because that's what would happen. You visit Maine, you're either going to be, attacked by vampires, chat, or demonic, extraterrestrial clown who will eat you, and he'll salt the meat and keep you down there and feed off your life force, chat. Or you might encounter aliens or fucking, Kathy Bates. You don't want to go to Maine, chat. Or you encounter an Iron Giant. But we're in goddamn Rock Ridge, Maine, chat, and we're following this boat captain. This man is he's old. He's old. He probably shouldn't have gone. First of all, he's stupid because he's a fisherman, chat. I get he has to earn a living, but you know that there's a massive fucking storm off the coast of Maine, and you also know it's the setting of most of Stephen King's novels. So you're not going to go out there when there's a storm brewing. But this fucking Rockwell, thank you, Deadpool, thank you. But this guy, he's like, I gotta earn my money. And he goes out there, chat, and he gets caught in a goddamn typhoon, in a hurricane. And he's calling for help. He's on the radio, and he's like, fucking please help me. And the thing is, shit, he's an old man. I'd be like, listen, you have maybe a couple weeks, a couple months at best. His fucking skin feels like it's already melting off his face. It's as if I were to touch his cheek and pull, the whole thing would just come undone, chat, like a string. And he would just fall apart. He's breaking down at the seams, but he's just looking for the lighthouse, and he's like, oh, I see it, I see the lights. But as he's coming up to what he thinks is the lighthouse, ain't no fucking lighthouse. It's the Iron Giant. It's Vin Diesel. And he comes up on it, he sees this big glowing eyes look down, and he's like, oh, and it smashes into him, chat, and it catapults him. It catapults him forward through his his dashboard of his boat. Right through his dashboard, chat, glass in his face. Just horrifically injured, chat. Just shredding the meat and bone and sinew and tissue, chat. All of it. And he looks up, because his eyes, he's are bleeding because of all the glass inside of him. And he sees this thing like staying above him, looking down as this massive wave, chat, overtakes him, and he goes down into the salty depths, chat, of the Sea of Maine. But then suddenly, Chad, he feels a presence. He feels himself being lifted up out of the air, and he manages to reach out, and he touches a rock, Chad, and he holds on to it, and the boat's fucking gone. But he looks up, Chad, and he sees the lighthouse, Chad. And he sees Hark! He hears Hark, Chad. And who fucking walks up? William goddamn Dafoe. And this is a whole nother story. We don't have time for this. And then, Chad, we cut. Hard transition. And then the thing says, bro, bro, help you. We then cut, and we're in the town, chat, of Rockport, where the hell it's called, Rockwell, Maine. And we're following this little precocious child, chat. He's on his bicycle. He's got like a little box in the back of his seat, and he goes forward, chat, and he parks his little bicycle outside of a diner, goes inside the diner, and watch this movie just made me want like diner food. Proper, diner made bacon, eggs, hash browns, toast, chat, 6 cups of coffee, chat. Yeah, put the half and half in there. No sugar. I don't need no sugar. Just something about that. Bro. And he goes there, he sits right there, and he has to talk to his mom, Chad. This mom is known as Rule 34 Mom, Chat, because yes, there are a lot of horny motherfuckers on the internet, chat, and you go ahead and put in the name of Annie Hughes, chat. This is Miss Annie Hughes. All right. If you put that in DeviantArt, chat, there is a smorgasbord of Rule 34, chat. All sorts of stuff. It's like, stop it, you horny motherfuckers. But he's talked about, voiced by Jennifer Aniston, chat. Great fact. And then she sees her son. We realize, this is her son, chat. And she says, Hogarth. And I'm like, why the fuck would you name a child Hogarth? What kind of cruel parent would do that, chat? Now, apparently, this is an adaptation of a British children's book, chat. It was called The Iron Man, and for obvious reasons, they didn't want to call it The Iron Man when the movie, because people were like, wait, Iron Man? Like the Marvel character? No. So they said, let's just call it The Iron Giant. Let's just change the name. And that makes sense, though, chat, because in Britain, all their fucking kids have weird names, chat. I mean, it's ridiculous, like Gwaine and, Lancelot and shit, and I guess Hogarth. It's like, I guess it makes sense. I guess that's like, the Dave of Great Britain, chat, is Hogarth. And so they just said, well, we're just going to stick with the fucking name of Hogarth. I was like, that's weird. Call him out. They should have called him Howard Hughes. We're like, oh, yeah, it would have been great. That would have been funny. It's like his kid grows up to be an insane industrialist, which actually makes sense, inspired by his interaction with the Iron Giant and the intense childhood trauma that he undergoes. But he's talking to his mom. He's like, Mom, I just want to let you know that I have something. She's like, is that a fucking new pet? Listen, you can't bring your pets in here. You've had all sorts of things and run amok inside the diner and home. And he's like, no, this time it's a squirrel. This time it's small. It'll be fine. She's like, yeah, it'll be fine. Just like the fucking raccoon and the dog and the bird and the fucking possum. Ugh, the possum. And he's like, it's okay, Mom. I swear to God, the squirrel won't bother anybody. She's like, okay, good. Well, just make sure to take him out of here and I'll think about it. And he goes back to the box, chat, and the squirrel has gotten out and it's somewhere in the diner. He's like, shit, I'm gonna get in so much trouble. And so he's searching for this goddamn squirrel, chat, all the time until finally he comes upon a guy who's just sitting there, chat, this beatnik, this, self-acclaimed artist, chat. I like to think, now he's voiced by Harry Connick Jr., but he reminds me of like a 1950s 2D animated Jeff Goldblum, chat. There's something about his look. He looks like Dr. Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park, chat. So I'll typically refer to him as Jeff Goldblum throughout the review, just for the sake of convenience, chat, because he just looks like Jeff Goldblum to me. And he's like, sir, have you seen my squirrel? And he moves the paper down, but the guy's asleep, chat. He's been sleeping the entire time. He's got dark circles under his eyes. He keeps late nights. And he fucking wakes up. He's like, what do you want? What do you want, kid? Who are you? He's like, hi, my name is Hogarth. Hogarth? He goes, yeah, you got it right. What's your name? He's like, my name is Dean. And he's like, well, that's great. Hey, have you seen like a squirrel around here? And he goes, what? While they're talking, chat, they hear on the other side of the diner, the crazy old man who has the glass in his eyes. It's still embedded in there, chat. And he's going off on a nice seaside yarn, telling all these people that he saw, like he was in a horrible accident at sea, but then he was saved by an iron giant. And these guys are like, you're a fucking loser. There's no way. I think that's either the whiskey or the beer talking. This was back in the day, chat, where they constantly reference like cigarettes and smoking and beer and alcohol. You don't often see that in a lot of animated fare nowadays, shit. Now, adult animation, sure, but not in like 2D animated stuff or 3D. So it's kind of cool to see, whoa, they're referencing alcohol. They swear in this movie. They say, damn it. They say ass. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I like that. I missed that, chat. And they're all mocking him. He's like all downtrodden, chat, and sad because he has glass in his eyes. And fucking, Jeff Goldblum's like, hey, don't fucking, I saw it too. Okay, I saw this Iron Giant too. And they're like, see what I tell you? All the fucking kooks stick together. And the kid's like, did you really see it? He's like, no, of course I didn't. He's like, why'd you do that? He says, I did it because, we got to support the kooks too. Who else is going to support them, all right? We gotta have fun. Like he's a forward thinker, Chet. He's a progressive in an unprogressive time, 1950s, where you're supposed to conform. You're supposed to not question your government, Chet. It's like that kind of time period, right? Just sit down, be happy, eat your fucking meatloaf and milk, and shut up. And report on your neighbors if you think they're those goddamn red Ruskies. Meanwhile, the kid's like, oh, that's cool. But have you seen my scroll? He's like, ah! And all of a sudden, chat, he starts freaking out. And the mom comes by. She's like, excuse me, sir, why are you talking to my son, Hogarth? And he's like, oh, I'm just talking. He's a great kid. She goes, okay, I guess I'll just go back to, man in the diner. And Hogarth's like, what the fuck's wrong with you? And it's like, the fucking squirrel, man. It's in my leg. It's burrowing in my leg. It's literally, chat, nesting inside his upper thigh. Like in medieval torture, chat? And one other, like, I was watching this video called Weird History, and one of the ways that they tortured people back in the day, chat, in the medieval ages, in the Middle Ages, chat, they would put a rat on your chest, and like a starved rat, and they would put a bucket on and strap it to you, chat, so it wouldn't be able to escape. And it would literally burrow and eat inside of you, chat. It was a horrific form of torture. So I imagine right now, with 2D animated Jeff Goldblum, is that the squirrel is now nesting and eating away at his inner thigh and is going to, like, put nuts in there and shit and maybe produce babies. It's a horrifying thing. And he's like, because he doesn't want that to happen, chat, because it's going closer, and he's probably going to go after his genitals. His nuts, get it? Because, like, he has nuts. And he's like, everyone, I'm sorry for what you're about to see. And he rips his pants off, chat, and he's just sure-cocking it the whole time. He just exposed himself, the entire patrons of the diner, and the squirrel starts fucking freaking. Everyone goes, ah! And the squirrel starts, like, attacking people and shit, because it's a rabid squirrel at this point, chat. It has feasted upon human meat, and it has a lust for it, and it goes after the people. It's causing a ruckus. Plates, waitresses are dropping coffee on people, chat. One jar of coffee just falls on one guy's face. Ah! Just horrifying scene. And eventually the squirrel runs out. Thank God it runs out. But that's a cannibal squirrel now. It has a taste for human meat. You're going to have to put it down sometime, chat. That's another movie, though. That's another movie. And fucking Annie, Rule 34 mom, she's looking at Hogarth and going, Hogarth? She's about to slap him, chat. He's like, ah. And then, chat, we cut. Hogarth, he's going home, chat. He's going home, and he parks his bike outside of his little domicile, chat. Goes inside there. Here's a ring-a-ding-ding on the telephone, and he's like, Hogarth Hughes speaking. How may I help you? And it's his mom. She's like, listen, because of the man-eating squirrel that you unleashed in the diner, I have to work an extra shift. Okay, and this one woman like goes back. She's like, hey, what the fuck, bitch? And like goes right past her. She's ignoring because they're all mad at her and her son. And she says, "So listen, there is some chicken in the ice box because they don't call it a refrigerator. They call it the ice box. And so help yourself to some of that. But be sure to get in bed by 9." And he's like, "Of course, mom. Of course I'll do that." But he's not doing that yet because he checks in the bread box. And what does he have in there? The quintessential food groups that any boy in 1957 needs, chat. Wonder Bread, white Wonder Bread, chat. Twinkies and other Hostess products. We then cut, chat. It's past 9 at this point, and he is enjoying a nice 1950s sci-fi film, chat. The Brain That Wouldn't Die, all right? And he's watching this movie while using some whipped cream, chat, injecting the Twinkie with like double the cream. That's too much cream. And he's stuffing his fat face while watching this movie. I love how the acting, like in the 1950s film, is super bad. It was like, oh no, I seem to have left my keys in my office. She says, well, why don't you go get those keys and we can have some fun at home. It's like there's a sexual reference in this movie, chat. The fun that she is referring to in this film is sex. So she's like waiting there while the guy, he goes inside and he's trying to find like his keys, picks him up, chat. But we see like this jar of this brain suddenly falls off the thing and it just like crawls away. And this guy's like, that's kind of odd. And he goes over to check on chat. But all of a sudden the fucking TV starts fizzing, starts getting all staticky. And, you know, Hogarth's like, motherfucker, Jesus Christ, goddamn antenna. And he goes upstairs, chat, because he hears something. He's like, hears something moving on the roof. He's like, what the hell is that? But then he hears like the guy going, oh, and he goes back down the stairs, tripping over himself and shit. And he sees that the brain has grew hentai, chat, out of hentai tentacles and is now voring him and penetrating the man who was looking for his keys, chat. It's a bad way to go, vor and penetration. But then the whole fucking thing goes out because you shouldn't watch this, kids. There's too much vor, too much hentai. Don't worry, you'll learn about this on DeviantArt someday. And the whole thing goes and the power goes. He's like, what the hell? He goes outside, chat. He goes on the rooftop and he sees the antenna is just gone. He's like, what the hell? And he looks out through his bedroom door, chat, with his little flashlight, and he's looking around. It looks like something just walked right through. He even sees like some damage to like this little tractor nearby. He's like, what is this? He's like, oh, men from Mars. And he's like what the fucking guy was saying. The old cuckoo has all the glass in his eyes. He's like, he was right. There's something there. And so Hogarth, he's got to get prepared. He's got to stop those goddamn Martians or those Ruskies, chat. And don't like neither of them. Got to get rid of them. And so he gets his BB gun, chat. He tapes his BB gun to the flash, which is very smart. Taping the flash to the BB gun, chat. You don't have to hold both. It would be too awkward. So he's got it on there, chat. He has his dad's flight helmet. This is cool. I didn't realize this originally, chat, when I watched this movie countless times. I was informed by my very generous patrons that that's his dad's flight helmet, and we actually see a picture of his dad later on in the movie, and he was a pilot during the Korean War, was shot down, was killed by the Chinese and the North Koreans, chat, and the commies, the goddamn Ruskies, chat. Ooh, the Ruskies. So, not great. Not great. And so the mom is a single mother trying to raise her fucking son while also trying to maintain the farm and also working a diner, chat. She's stressed out. She's super stressed out. But like, I like that context. They don't say it outright, though. They don't say it outright, but it's there in the background. I thought that was very, very cool. But he gets his dad's flight jacket on, chat, and he runs out there trying to hunt down those Ruskies. You even see like a comic book that he brushes by that says, beware the Red Menace, which is giant like red commie guy, like devil commie guy, trying to attack this white woman. It's like, oh my God. And he runs out there. He runs out into the forest, chat. And he's looking all over the place. He sees the destruction. He sees all the trail of destruction, chat, trying to look all over the place. And he starts hearing all these fucking weird noises. And he goes to this one little clearing. What he thinks is a clearing, chat, it's not a clearing. He realizes that it's just the impression this thing has left. It's an Iron Giant-sized impression on the woods, chat. It's like, wait, this thing's huge. And eventually, chat, he comes upon a power station, and it's glowing and humming, and it's like, great sound mixing, sound editing design in this movie. Quite good. But then, chat, we look behind him. Look behind him, chat. Like all these trees that are all black. The backgrounds of this movie are beautiful, especially when like it's light out. All sorts of oranges and golds and reds and yellows, chat. Very pretty. But then, chat, one of the fucking trees move, and we see the big white eyes. It's the Iron Giant. And Hogarth turns around. He's like, oh! And he sees this thing as it starts coming towards him. He fucking freaks out. She's like, I don't know what to do. But the Iron Giant's not concerned at this point because he just wants to fucking eat something, chat. And he's either like, I'll settle either for a little boy, I'll eat you and your little squishy small body, or I'll settle for metal. In this case, it'll be metal. And so he goes over there, chat. He just starts chewing, and the little kid's like, oh my God, this is horrifying. But when the Iron Giant gets up, he gets tangled in all the electrical wires. And he starts being electrocuted, chat. It's horrible. It's like, oh my God. And Hogarth at this point is like, fuck him. I got to get out of here. But then he hears the scream, chat, of Vin Diesel. The last thing that you guys want to hear is the pain cries of one Vin Diesel, chat. It'll break your heart. He's family. And so he runs back there, chat, and he sees this giant industrial-sized switch, and he's got to get it right on. He's got to like put his whole fucking body weight into this thing, and he turns it off, chat. Turns it off. And Vin Diesel's like, And he falls backward, Chad. Falls backward, looks like he's dead. And Hogarth is, oh God, oh Jesus. And he crawls up. At this point, I'd be like, fuck it, I gotta go. I need to leave this thing. I'm very terrified of what this thing could possibly do. And eventually, Chad, he goes out there and he goes like up, he climbs this like little hill. Right next to his head, and he starts like taking rocks and just throwing them at him like one after the other. It's like, all right, this is not moving. He crawls inside of its head and he peers into its mouth. By the way, I would never crawl on that thing's head and look into its mouth, chat. Fuck that. That is easy for him to like bite me. It'd be like Attack on Titan. It'll be like, Aaron getting his hand bit off, chat. Like, fuck no. I'm not getting anywhere near that thing's mouth. But he looks in there, chat, and, Vin Diesel, he wakes up, those eyes are shining, he's staring right at the kid, and Hogarth's like, oh, and he fucking just runs away from this thing, and this thing just, like, starts following him. He's like, holy shit, but he escapes him. He managed to escape him, chat. And he goes right to the road just screaming for help. He sees like a truck nearby. He sees a truck nearby. Oh, by the way, Hogarth's mom went home because the power went out. The whole fucking town's power went out because he destroyed the electrical grid system for the eastern fucking seaboard. And so mom's looking for him. She's like, God damn it, the kid didn't do what I told him to do. And so she gets in her truck and is, driving around. And she comes upon Hogarth. She's like, Hogarth, for the love of God, I told you to stay at home, to go to bed by 9. And he's like, Mom, listen, I'm sorry, I disobeyed you, but there's an iron giant. And he's just gone. And she's like, Hogarth, what are you talking about? He's like, something was on the roof and it ate the antenna, and I chased after it, and it did all the destruction, and I pulled the switch because it was being electrocuted. She's like, Hogarth, shut up. Shut the fuck up. All right? I'm not in the mood. Okay? I'm not in the mood right now. Your fucking father's been dead. I've been supporting you. I have to work at a diner. I need to fuck somebody, okay? I don't have time for your shit. Get your ass in the car. And he's like, okay. And so he goes in the car. She goes in the car. And Mom, she drives away. And the Iron Giant's like, oh, that's rough, Muddy. He's like, I'll find you. And eventually they go home, Chet. They go home. And all little Hogarth, it's a stressful goddamn day for him, chat. Stressful guy. Oh, he sees like the Iron Giant. It's all sad and stuff. It's like, he's like, I'm gonna get you, man. We then cut to Hogarth's class, chat, where he's getting a very informative documentary about atomic power and the weapons of mass destruction. And it's the whole thing, the whole spiel. It's that propaganda, chat. It's that Western propaganda about duck and cover. That whole thing where the government said, if you just hide underneath your desk, that will protect you from nuclear hellfire, from an atomic holocaust, that was a lie. But we watched this one fun little animated video of this little girl who, hides under her desk as this atomic bomb dropped by those goddamn Ruskies falls upon the school, and her desk perfectly protects her, Chad. It's like, that's a lie. And he just doesn't care because he's drawing like the sad Iron Giant robot, like, on this whole thing. And the kids are like, you're such a fucking freak, Hogarth. You're so weird. You're a nerd. He's like, I'm not a nerd. I just fucking read the books that we're supposed to read. It's like, fuck you. It's not my fault. I can't read the squiggles. And the teacher's like, Hogarth, stop talking to everyone, okay? Pay attention. And the teacher, chat, voiced by Cloris Leachman. In a very small role. I did not know that, who recently passed away, sadly, the last couple months. Recently passed away. And he's like, and he continues drawing like the Iron Giant, all that stuff, chat. Eventually, though, he's riding his fucking bike home. She's riding his bike home. We also cut and we see sexy 2D animated Jeff Goldblum, chat. And he's picking up a vehicle that apparently, no, it's a tractor that he got for a very good price. He says, I'm sorry that I keep buying it from this guy. I'm sorry I couldn't give you more for it because, well, looks like something took a bite out of it. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck's been eating my shit. And then the fucking old kook, he's there, chat. The guy who has all the glass in his eyes. He's like, I told you it's real, because he can't look anyone, chat. Just like when he looks at you, he's not looking at like in you in the direct eye line because it has the glass. And so I called the government. They're sending a fucking special agent, and they're gonna get someone to the fucking bottom of this. And at this point, 2D animated Jeff Goldblum's like, well, hey, that's fucking cool, man. That's cool. All right, well, more power to you. He's like, hell yeah, when's he supposed to come? He should be here anytime. And then, chat, we cut, and we see that individual, chat. Shooter McGavin, the villain of Happy Gilmore, chat. Before he became a professional golfer, he was an X-Files agent. He was a G-Man, chat. an FBI agent investigating the paranormal, the supernatural, all the crazy stuff that was going around these United States of America. And he comes to the power station, right, where he's interviewing all these people. And this guy, he likes to pretend to be a straight shooter chap, but he's full of shit. He's all in it for himself. He can give a shit less about Uncle Sam. He just wants that extra promotion. He just wants to get something on the guy who's below him or the guy that's even ahead of him. He's like, I don't care. I'm in this for me. But I love it. The guy who does Christopher McDonald is the voice of Kent Mansley, Chad. That's the agent. And he does an amazing job. He's perfectly cast. He's as good at playing these really smarmy, asshole authoritarian figures. And he nails it right here. Where he pulls up in his truck, he starts asking all these questions to these guys, and this one person's like, oh, well, it's I never would have expected, a G-man to be here and to be interviewing us for all these, the big things that are happening around here. And the fucking Shooter McGavin's like, listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, whatever you think this is, it's not. Okay, it's adorable that you think that, but big things happen in big places. Okay, and this kind of place, little Rockport, where the fuck this place is called. It's a small place, all right? So thank you for all your information on Iron Giants and Iron Man. It's adorable. It's adorable. And he's like, I'm just going to take these notes back to Washington. I'll inform them of all the things that are going on right here, okay? And he's walking back. He finds the guy does give him something, Chad. It's the BB gun, Hogarth's BB gun. And it's all busted up, and he takes it as possible evidence. He's like, sure. And he goes back to his fucking car. He's like, oh, yeah, whatever. Fucking Iron Giants. Jesus, these goddamn hick yokels. He goes in his car, opens the door, puts the fucking thing in his passenger seat, or would put in his passenger seat, Chad, because his whole car, at least half his car has been eaten. He goes, oh, my God. And he fucking jumps out. And he's like, oh. And he fucking runs away. And meanwhile, the Iron Giant just reaches through, grabs the fucking car, and just eats the rest of it, and just moves away. Apparently, Vin Diesel, Chad. He is a master of stealth, Chad. Lives his life a quarter mile at a time, very quietly. And then Shooter McGavin, he comes back. He's like, fucking, my car, you won't believe it, they ate my car. And then they come back, and the fucking car is just gone. And he's like, are you okay, Mr. Mansley? And he goes, yeah, I'm fine. There's something more to this. I need to investigate this bullshit. There's something to this. But he has that fucking BB gun. He's like, I'm going to get to the fucking bottom of this. Meanwhile, we cut to little Hogarth chap. And he has obtained a piece of sheet metal. All right, he's like, I gotta use this I gotta bait him. I gotta use this to trick him. If I can get him, I can get a picture of him. I can tell the government or the newspaper and get a lot of money. It'd be perfect. And it'll help my mom and myself. And so, also has a camera with him too. And so he puts this sheet metal right over this hill next to this log chat, and he spends the next several hours just staking this little piece of sheet metal over that hill for the entire time. And time passes, time keeps passing, till eventually he falls asleep accidentally, Chad, and he hears something moving, and he looks up at the fucking sheet metal's guy. He's like, God damn it. He takes the picture, but he's like, I missed it. And then he turns around, and the sheet metal, Chad, the piece of sheet metal is right next to the tree. And he's like, what the hell? And then he looks up because he sees the big fucking dumb derpy metal foot of Vin Diesel, and he looks up, and he's like, oh, and Vin Diesel's like, bro, family. He's like, ah! And he fucking takes off running, Chad. He's horrified. And he's doing the Tom Cruise air chop and run, trying to escape a giant metallic Vin Diesel, as you would do, Chad. And so he keeps running. He keeps fucking running, and eventually hits a goddamn tree branch, like right in the nose, knocks himself out. This kid gets concussed more than anyone I've ever seen in animated film, Chad. Like, he probably has brain damage by the end of this. So this could have all been a hallucination for all we know. This could just be like running amok, and like, we got to put this kid down. That's what it could be. But he hits a fucking branch. And the Iron Giant's like, oh, shit. And he comes to, and he's like, oh, he like falls on, he falls down. He's like covering himself. The Iron Giant's just kind of looking at him. And he's like, huh? And the Iron Giant kind of looks at him. He notices how he's sitting. And he just sits his big fat metal ass down too and just looks at him. And he's like, huh? And he's like, Hogarth starts stretching his legs out, Chad, trying to get the fucking circulation back, the blood pumping. And the Iron Giant is like looking at his legs, and he stretches them out too. And he's like, wait a minute, you're just copying what I do. And then, Vin Diesel's like, because he can't really form words. And he's like, oh, you seem kind of nice. You seem kind of, can you talk? Can you talk? Iron Giant's like, huh? huh? Can you go blah, blah, blah? And Vin Diesel goes blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, you can't talk. He's like, okay, cool. Hey, what about this? And he grabs like a rock. This is a rock. Can you say rock? Can you say rock? And Vin Diesel's like, rock. He goes, yeah. And then he reaches for this giant fucking boulder that's right next to Hogarth. He grabs it and he lifts it and he goes, rock. It's like, that's a rock. And then he goes over to his left hand. He grabs his fucking tree and just takes it out like King Kong. And he looks at the tree and goes, rock. He goes, no, that's a tree. That's a tree. Your right hand's a rock. The left hand's a tree. Tree. It's like, yeah, you're getting it, man. And they just bond the entire goddamn time. They're just having a blast. They're having a blast just bonding, talking about rocks and trees and shit. Until eventually, Groot, Vin Diesel, he is your actor you need to cast when it just comes to saying like very short sentences or phrases or like single words like that. He has a goddamn control over those kind of roles, chat. All right, no one can beat him with that. And so eventually the sun's starting to set. He's like, I gotta get home now. It's gonna be time for dinner. My mom's gonna be worried. She's already pissed off about last night. He's like, listen, you just stay here. You just stay here, okay? And I'll come back tomorrow. I'll bring you some stuff to eat, some metal, right? And he's like, family. And the kid's like, all right, I'm gonna go. And he starts to walk away, but the Iron Giant gets up and starts following him, like a dog. It's like a puppy. And he's like, no, you have to stay here. I can't take you to where I am. People would fucking freak out. They would wig out. You know what wigging out means? The Iron Giant's like, family? No, it's not. No, wigging out's like, and the Iron Giant goes, he's like, no, don't do that. If you do that, they'll fucking shoot at you. You don't want that. And he's like, bro. Yes, bro. Indeed. So I'll come back. I'll bring some sheet metal or whatever I can find. It will feed you and we'll continue the learning educational process. Cool? And he's like, yeah. He's like, okay, cool. He starts to walk away and then fucking Iron Giant's like, no, starts following him. He's like, no, stop following me, bad robot. He can't help himself. Eventually, though, he's just like, well, you're going to still follow me. And Hogarth the whole time is like, you need to stop. You need to stop. He's right over the hill. He's like, that's where I live. You can see the house right there. They're like on some train tracks. She's like, I live in that house. Me house. You forest. Yeah, you stay here, okay? I'm gonna go. I'll be back tomorrow, all right? Bye. And he's going down the hill, chat, but then he hears like the Iron Giant like munching on something. He sees that he's starting to like munch on the railroad track. He's like, no, don't do that. He runs on the Iron Giant's like, family? He's like, no, you can't do that. The train, there's a train. And then, chat, we hear that fucking hype train a-coming, that chugga, choo, and it gets like, oh shit, you gotta fix it. He's like, I have family? He's like, yeah, family. And he's like, put it down. And he's like, oh, and he pushes it down. He's like, kind of make them move together, like they're kind of connected. He's like, and they're all fucked up and shit. He's like, perfect, no, hide. And Iron Giant's like, no, man, I'm a fucking artist. I'm gonna make sure this is immaculate. And he manages to stretch them all out to the point where they're touching exactly. And Hogarth's like, you gotta hide, you're gonna get hit. And by the time he like does the little boop, like perfect, like there's no damage. He looks to his side and goes, hits him in the fucking side of the face. Shit, just hits him, and the train goes off the fucking tracks. The conductors and the engineers, shit, they fly out the windows, shit, hit a bunch of trees. They're exploding. It's like a hot water balloon on the trunk of a great redwood, shit. Just meat explosion. It's like, Jesus Christ, oh my God. And Hogarth, he comes to, it's all this mist is accumulated now at this point, and he's like, holy shit, he hears this ba-boom, and the Iron Giant was left him and lands right next to him. He's all fucked up and derpy. He's like, and it's like, oh no, he's dead. But then all of a sudden, chat, this little fucking antenna goes, boop, pops out of his top of his head, and he starts, bow, the little blue light, sound effect, and all of his fucking parts start to reanimate and start crawling towards him, and he starts like reassembling himself. And Hogarth's like, what? You can do that? He's like, foreshadowing. Okay, I don't really understand that, but fair enough. And then, chat, we hear from the trucks, thankfully. Even though they fucking hit the redwood trees, even though they went splat, those fucking 1950s conductors and engineers, very resilient, Chad. They too put the meat back inside their tummy, and they're like, "Is everyone okay? Hey, you down there, are you okay?" He said, "We gotta fucking hide." And he says, we'll go to my home. And he puts the Iron Giant inside of the farmhouse, Chad, that they have on the property. And he's like, "Listen, you have to stay in here. You stay in here. I'll go in there. I'll check on you in a bit, all right?" And he's like, "Family?" He's like, "Yeah, family, indeed." And he goes inside the house, chat. Hogarth's mother's like, "Well, I'm glad you showed up right on the dice." He's like, "Of course, you know me. I'm always responsible." And so then at this point, chat, they're sitting at the fucking dinner table. Oh, that's the cool thing, too, because Iron Giant's, like, putting himself back together. It's all clicking in place. It's, like, pretty cool. And when he waves goodbye to Hogarth, Chad, he's like, "Oh," because he doesn't have a hand. We don't know where the hand is, Chad. It's missing. It's horrifying for him. He doesn't know where it is. It's like every part of him is like another organism, like the Thing. Like, if you cut off one part, it has its own, like, personality and brain. It's like, it's weird. It's kind of crazy. But, he's at dinner, Chad. And by the way, way too much fucking dairy in his diet. Because they're eating some Kraft macaroni and cheese. Gross, by the way. I know Kraft macaroni and cheese was very popular. It was popularized during the Great Depression because it was very cheap to make. All right, but there are much better ways to make macaroni and cheese, Chad. All right, all sorts of cheeses. And the fact that mom's is like, "I'm just fucking tired. I don't want to cook anymore. I want to serve coffee. We're going to have this industrial, cheap-made macaroni and cheese in this giant fucking bowl, put it on your plate, put it on my plate, and we're both going to drink milk." And it's like, I guess you're not going to shit for the next week, huh? It's too much dairy in their diets, Chad, way too much. That's why she's so fucking pissed. She's got to poop. But it's like, "All right, Hogarth, do grace." And he's like, "All right, oh my God." Because he sees, Shat, that the Iron Giant's hand is just moving around the house like a dog spider. It's just very curious. And she's like, "What was?" He's like, "Nothing, grace. Oh God. Please protect us from Satan." And while the hand's like, "Please just go away, Satan. Just go away. Leave us alone. Go someplace that's not here," because he's gesturing towards the handshake. She's like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?" And the hand's like, "All right, I got it." And he goes into the living room, chat. And he's like, "Yeah, and amen. This mac and cheese, Mom, this looks fucking great." And she's like, uh-huh. She's like, "You know what, listen, I'll be right back. I'm gonna get some pepper, gonna get some black pepper to go with this, and it's gonna complete. I need a little extra spice. Maybe I'll even get some salt. I'm on the wild side, gonna get some black pepper and some salt." And she's like, "All right." And, he goes to the living room, chat, and he sees that the fucking hand is watching television. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing? No. And he's like, turning off the fucking TV. He's like, "Get, go." And I love that the hand is just acting like a dog. It's always like in his little stub and the little cauterized stub, chat, with the wires. It's like shaking his tail back and forth. It's really adorable. And eventually, he's just pushing this fucking thing. He's pushing this thing. And he's like, I gotta take this thing somewhere. But meanwhile, Chad, we cut to the train yard where goddamn Shooter McGavin is, Chad. He talked to the mayor saying that, "Listen, there's a fucking serious situation going on right here. It's bamboozling me constantly, and I need to get to the bottom of it." And that's when he's at the mayor office, Chad. He gets the call about the accident at the train yard. He goes over there with the mayor's car, parks it, talks to the one guy who has like not been, smushed by a giant redwood, Chad. He's like, "What did you fucking see?" He's like, "You'll never believe me. He's like, "I just shoot, partner." And he's like, we hit a giant metal man. I mean, it could have been the fog, could have been the mist, but that's what it looked like." And he's like, "Okay, that's all the information I needed, good sir, thank you." He's like, "Do any of you have a phone? Is there a phone nearby?" And he go, "That farmhouse down there probably has a phone." He goes, "Gotcha, thanks." And he heads down to the Hughes estate, chat, to the Hughes farm. Meanwhile, Hogarth, he's trying to just get the fucking hand out of there, trying to, get it through the front door. And he gets to the door, chat, and he hears a knock on it. He's like, "What the fuck?" He opens the door, and he goes, "How you doing, kiddo? It's goddamn Shooter McGavin," chat. He's like, "I just wanted to ask you if you happen to have a phone. I am a government agent." He goes, "Shit," and he closed the door on him. And he goes, oh. And he's like, go up the stairs. And the thing just goes up the stairs. He's like, I got to deal with this. Eventually, he opens the door. Shooter McGavin's like, "How you doing, buckaroo?" It's like that whole facade just kind of dropped for a second. He says, "I just wanted to see if you had your phone here. Is your mom and dad home?" He's like, "My dad is dead. He died in Korea." It's okay, very sensitive. "Well, is your mom home?" And then Mrs. Oh, by the way, in order to appropriately distract his mother, who like, he has to move like the hand from like it goes past the living room in the kitchen. What he does is he takes like a fucking quarter, he flings it at the spice rack that's above the oven, and it completely fucking falls down. The mom's like, oh. She just has to fix it. She just did not see that at all. She's like drinking wine. She's a wine mom now, Chad. She's like, fuck. But then she comes to the door seeing what all the ruckus is about. And she goes, sir, because that's the thing. Sir, can I help you? And when he's looking down Hogarth, his eyes, they don't like look up at her first. Like, Brad Bird, I know what you're all about. Because Hogarth's mom, Mrs. Hughes, she's curvy. And clearly, Brad Bird, he likes that. I mean, look at fucking Mrs. Incredible, Chad. Elastigirl is like, bah, boom, with that behind. But his eyes go from Hogarth's eyes to hit like directly at his mom's breast, and he stares at her like this, and then he looks up and he smiles. It's like, I know what you're fucking doing, shooter. And he goes, oh my God, this must be the lovely lady of the home. I just wanted to know if I could use your phone. I happen to be on assignment here. Apparently there's been some crazy things going on. And she goes, of course, yeah. Yeah. Well, is this about like the electrical grid? Yeah, actually, matter of fact, it is. How do you know about that? Well, Hogarth is talking about like these giant metal men and things. He's like, Mom, shut the fuck up. And he goes, oh, really? And she goes, yeah. Maybe you want to ask him something. Maybe he'll know something. And all of a sudden, chat, they hear the fucking toilet upstairs flush. And they're like, what the hell? And he's like, Hogarth's like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. I have too much cheese. And he runs upstairs, chat. And the mom's like, honey, are you okay, honey? And he goes up there, he sees the fucking hand is just unraveling all the toilet paper, just having a blast. He goes, get your fucking big metal ass out of here. He closed the door, and he's trying to shove the hand out the fucking window, and you see the hand dangling right where Shooter McGavin's like looking around. And eventually, Annie, Rule 34 mom, she's knocking on the door, and she goes, honey, are you okay? He's like, Mom, I just need some privacy. Can I get some privacy, please? And Shooter McGavin's like, so this is why you should always chew your food. And she looks at him like, don't tell my son how he should poop, okay? I just met you, Shooter McGavin. And eventually, he forces the hand outside of the bathroom, chat, and, the mom's coming in. He's like, shit, and he just pulls his pants down, chat, and he's sitting on the toilet, and she comes in, he comes in, and he's like, Mom, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry. She's like, fucking some privacy, okay? I gotta poop. And when she closes the door, I love this. This is a very funny animated GIF that you've seen before. She closes the door on Shooter McGavin's face, and it goes, it gets like his eyeballs just burst out and things. And he's like, ah! She goes, oh, I'm so sorry. He's like, oh, no, it's quite fine. It's quite fine. I just really could use that phone call if you don't mind. And she goes, sure, I'll go ahead and take you down to the phone. They go down in the kitchen. Meanwhile, Hogarth, he looks outside the window and sees the Iron Giant lifts up the farmhouse. The hand crawls back in there and attaches to the Iron Giant. Meanwhile, good old Shooter McGavin. He comes down there. And he's got to call the general. He's got to call the general about this thing and tell him know of what he recently saw. And he's trying to call this guy saying, listen, sir, I believe that there is some nefarious supernatural, some nefarious forces down here. Locals have seen a giant Iron Man. And the general who's in Washington is like, listen, unless you fucking give me some evidence, some cold hard facts, I'm not fucking sending American troops and resources down this area. But sir, I have a feeling. He's like, you're telling me that you have a feeling, and that means that I should bring all the fucking power of the United States of America to Maine. Is that what you're saying? He's like, well, he's like, listen, if you can find me, like, hey, if you happen to find a footprint of this thing, and you filled it in, or if you get a fucking picture, then sure, I'll bring it. But until then, I'm not going to use American taxpayer money on your feelings. So shut the fuck up and bring me something or get your ass back home. Click. And he's so mad. Like, there's this one little happy, like, oven with a cat's face. And he's like, you're mocking me. And he, like, turns it around. He's like, ooh. He tries to, like, put the phone down. It keeps falling off the hook. He's like, oh, he's freaking out. And then they hear this all in the kitchen. They're like, oh, Jesus Christ, this guy's losing his goddamn mind. Eventually he's like, Whoo, okay, just thank you for letting me use your phone, appreciate it. And then he eventually goes out, he's like, hey, how you doing, campers? Just want to thank you again for letting me use your phone, talking to those big bucks in Washington. I'll see you next time, of course. Let me know if you have any questions, any answers, I can provide them. And he's going out the door, he's like, again, Miss Annie, was it? Yes, Annie Hughes. So like, nice meeting you, Annie. And you, how about you? She goes, oh, this is my son, Hogarth. Hobart? Well, Annie, Hobbarter, good to see you. See you next time. He goes, it's fucking Hogarth. He's like, oh yeah, Hogarth. And he even, it's like he's about to drive away. He's like, fuck, what kind of fucking horrible parent would name their kid Hogarth? That's just cruel. And he looks at the gun. And he notices that the gun, Chad, has Hogarth Hughes. He's like, Hobagobble, oh! And he goes right back to the house and he goes, hey, buddy, just want to know if you had any other questions. He's like, sorry, sir, sorry, can't help you. I'm not involved. He's like, oh, all right. Well, you let me know. I'll be around here, slugger. Until next time. He fucking leaves because he knows that this kid is connected to this fucking Iron Giant, Chad. He knows something's going on. He's like, here, you left this at the electrical grid. I'll see you later. And eventually, Hogarth, he goes back to the farmhouse, chat, and he's brought all these comics. He's brought some reading materials. He wants to read about Kent is a conservative. Oh, very much so. But Hogarth, he's brought all these comic books, some reading material, nice little bedtime story for Vin Diesel. And he's like, hey, buddy, I figured you might like a little bedtime story. He's like, story? He's like, yeah, story. And he starts talking about all these comic books that he has. And, you know, like, oh, this one's the Spirit. All DC comic book characters, by the way. This one's the Spirit. And this one, this is Superman. He's like you. He came from outer space and he landed here and he helps people. He protects people. And he's like, Superman. He's like, yeah, you're Superman. But the Iron Giant, he notices one of the other comics, chat. And it's a giant robot, like, attacking the city. And he's like, oh, that's Atomo. He's like, Atomo bad? He's like, Atomo's bad, but you're not Atomo. You're not like him. You're like Superman. He's like, Superman. That's right. And he reads the story. He's like, oh, Vin Diesel loves Superman. I bet that's the reason why they got Vin Diesel involved in this project. Because Vin Diesel, he's a big old nerd. He loves Dungeons and Dragons. He loves comic books. He loves science fiction. He loves fantasy. And I bet when Brad Bird pitched this to him, he said, hey, man, you get to be like a version of Superman in like a 1950s sci-fi 2D animated film. I'm sure Vin Diesel was like, hell yeah, I'll fucking do that. Sounds good. One of the first big films that kind of put him on the map, chat, along with Saving Private Ryan. And so he's reading all fucking Superman comics, and you know the Iron Giant's loving it, chat. But now, he gets the tummy rumbles, chat. He's hungry. He's like, "You're still pretty hungry, aren't you?" He goes, "Yes, food, bro." He's like, "I'll get you some food, fellow bro." And so he's like, "Hey, let's go. We'll find something for you." And so the Iron Giant just kind of fucking picks him up and puts him on his shoulder, and they just start walking to town. And you know. And he's like, oh, yeah, this is fucking Rockport, Rockridge, where the fuck this, the setting of most in Stephen King's novels, Maine, right? And if you see that building right down there, that's where I was born. And, the Iron Giant, Vin Diesel's like, family. And he just runs straight towards the town. The kid's like, no, not family, no. He's like, listen, if people saw you right now, they would freak the fuck out. Mother, call me Hazel, juicy gang. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing very well. But he's like, family? He's like, no, you can't go there yet. They would freak out. Now is not the time. They would shoot at you. They'd shoot. He's like, bad. He's like, very, very bad, very bad. He's like, we gotta get going. All right, we gotta get going. And so they leave, chat. They leave. I think have we at the part where they? Oh no. We've not gotten to that part yet. And so eventually, they're trying to find some food for the Iron Giant, chat, because he hungry. And they find an abandoned car there, like it's rusted. There's all these parking tickets. And the kid's like, maybe you should just eat that. I mean, it's been there for months. And he's like, nom, nom, nom. But before he grabs it, Chad, they see a fucking car come. He's like, oh, fucking hide. You gotta hide. He's like, oh, family. And this is great. As a person who pulls up, Chad, is 2D Jeff Goldblum, and he hooks it up, this old car, and he takes it back to his junkyard, Chad. Meanwhile, the Iron Giant is like literally hiding in plain sight. He's against this billboard, like holding this giant like a burger. It's like atomic burgers, good for your gut. And he's like, oh, as he sees it goes away. But the kid's like, I have a good idea. This just solved all of our fucking problems. Great visual gag, agreed, James. And so then they head to the scrapyard, chat. The McCoupin? what's it called, Chad? McCoppin, Scrap, Dean McCoppin. And so he says, here's your fucking your buffet, your smorgasbord. And Vin Diesel, he just starts stuffing his tummy, Chad, with all sorts of scraps, starts eating cars and shit, starts eating all sorts of just handfuls of garbage, Chad. Till he grabs this one big car, takes a bite of it, Chad. But then the fucking, alarm starts going off, wee woo, wee woo, wee woo. The kid's like, shut it off. He's like, and he just like, he throws on the ground and just sits on it with his ass, Chad. But even the dummy thick metallic ass of Vin Diesel cannot stop that fucking car alarm from going off. And the kid's like, what are you doing? He's like, ugh. He reaches under a chair, he stands up and he goes, no, and he just throws it. He just fucking throws it in the horizon. And eventually fucking what's his name? Dean, Chad, 2D, Jeff Goldblum. He opens the door. He's like, what's going on? And the kid's like, oh, hi. I'm sorry. I was playing in here. It's like, why the fuck are you playing in the scrapyard? You know it's dangerous, kid. He's like, I'm sorry. I'm precocious. He's like, well, I guess the right thing to do would just welcome you into my home. Just don't tell your mom about what's about to happen. He's like, what? Does it smell like chloroform to you? He's like, that doesn't happen, Chad. It happens later on in the movie. Don't you worry. Chloroform happens later on in the movie. But he invites the kid in. And the kid's like looking at his place is filled with garbage art. That's what he does. He buys scrap and he creates art with it and he sells it to the highest bidder. And the kid goes, this is some interesting pieces. Hey, man, it's fucking art. Do you like jazz? Kid, he starts playing these jazz records. And he's like, do you want something to drink? Milk? Like more milk? Is that what kids drink? And he's like, well, I'll have whatever you're having. He's like, listen, kid, I'm drinking some coffee. He's like, I'll have some coffee. He's like, come on, really? Coffee? He goes, I drink coffee. He's like, this is espresso. It might be a little too much for you. It's like, nah, man, I'm cool. I can drink coffee. And then with like a hard fucking cut. And Hogarth is going off. He's like, I'm at school and these fucking kids always beat me up. And I because they think I'm smart and because I'm nerdy. I'm not a nerd. I just read the fucking books. Why don't they just read the fucking books? They just think it's goddamn squiggles. And I'm just tell them, just read the books. You do good in school. So stop beating me up. They say I don't have friends, but I do have friends. I want to have friends, and I made a friend. And meanwhile, Dean's just staring at him like, Jesus Christ, I create like a little monster. Until eventually he fucking relaxes. He relaxes a bit. And at this point, they still hear some ruckus going out around in the junkyard. And he's like, what the hell is it? You have any friends here? He goes, no, I don't have any friends here. No, not at all. No, it's fine. And he goes, I'm going to be right back. And he grabs this crowbar. He goes out there. He's like, hey, everyone else is out here. Get out, okay? This is private fucking property. And he turns around, chat, and he sees the Iron Giant is just looking at him. He's like, oh! He just sees that. And Hogarth's like, no, it's okay. And he runs out. It's like, stop, he's fine. And fucking Iron Giant's like, oh, you heard, bro, family, bro. And he runs at 2D Jeff Goldblum, chat. And he's like, no. And he takes off, and he just grabs him. Chat. He's like, hold him up. And Hogarth's like, no, don't hurt him. He's fine. He wasn't hurting me. He's like, and he's like, he too, family, he bro, and he's like, look at him, he's like, oh god. And then we cut, and the guy is just kind of sitting there with a cup of coffee, just fucking shaking. And he's like, listen, he came from space, he seems friendly, I don't know, I think it's okay. He's like, you fucking have a giant robot running around, kids. All that fucking, the crazy kook was right. Crazy kook, now the government's having a kid. You gotta tell someone about it. He's like, I can't tell him, they're gonna kill him. They'll experiment him and do stuff to him. He's like, well, why are you bringing him here? Well, he needs some place to stay, and I thought maybe right now would be pretty good. And Dean just like stands up, dumps the coffee, and just goes inside of his home and shuts and locks the door. And then it cuts to 37 minutes later, great title card. And he gets like, oh, come on. Hogarth's like, he just needs to stay here for the night. He just needs a place to sleep. It's okay. He's like, go away, Hogarth. He's like, come on. I mean, I'll tell my mom that you had me inside your house. I didn't get her permission. He's like, you fucking wouldn't. And he's like, I fucking would. He goes, oh. He's, oh my God. Oh, Jesus. All right, listen. He can, I'm tired. And he just goes on his couch. He can stay the night. After that, I don't know. He's like, yes, great, perfect. And then he goes to the Iron Giant. And the Iron Giant, he's sleeping, he's napping. He's like, okay, you sleep here. I'll be back tomorrow, okay, buddy? And so then he goes back home. The sun's already up. He sneaks into the house. He's fucking exhausted. He's been up for 48 goddamn hours at this point, chat. He goes to, like, about to crawl in the bed. And as soon as he opens, as soon as he about to, like, just get in there, Mom opens the door. He's like, oh, you're up already. He goes, yep, just making the bed. He's like, well, why don't you come downstairs? I'll make you some breakfast. And then he goes downstairs, just, half asleep. And he looks up because he hears, how you doing, Scout, and it's fucking Mansley, chat. It's goddamn Ken Mansley, Shooter McGavin. He's sitting there at the breakfast table. And he's like, what the fuck are you doing here? And she's like, oh, isn't it great, Hogarth? We had a room for rent. They prominently feature. And Mr. Mansley, while he's on here assignment, he's going to rent out the room from us. Isn't that wonderful? And he goes, yeah, it's fucking great. And he's like, yeah, no, it's good to see you, Slugger. Hey, listen, if you want to talk about anything, you just let me know. He's like, yeah, don't worry. He's like, I suddenly just lost my appetite. And here's the phone ringing. He's like, I'm going to go get that. And, he goes off, and she's like, I don't know what's gotten into him. He's like, oh, don't worry. Kids that age, they're little shits. So he goes to the phone. And he's calling. He gets a call from Dean, and he's like, listen, because that's the thing, because we cut back to Dean. He's made himself a fresh cup of coffee, opens the door, and the Iron Giant's just looking in like a fucking puppy, just like, but what are we going to do now, bro? He's like, oh, yeah. He's like, kid, listen, it's the morning now. He can't fucking be here at this point. You got to get rid of him. He's like, but he has nowhere else to go. Okay, he's safe there. He's eating. And he's like, I get that, but this is just come here when you can, all right? He's destroyed my art. He's fucking up my art. He's like, okay, I'll be there as soon as I possibly can. He hangs up the phone, and he turns around, and there's fucking Shooter McGavin. He's like, hey, who was that, Scout? He's like, oh, it was a friend. I have a lot of friends, and I was just talking about the new action figure they have at the convenience store. It's an Iron Man, Marvel. And he's like, oh, really? Well, you should tell me about that. He's like, yeah, we'll talk later. And we get this wonderful montage of Shooter McGavin constantly trying to accost this kid, constantly questioning him, like, how you doing there, Scout? How you doing, though, Slugger? How you doing there, Chief? Like, back and forth. How you doing there, little soldier? How you doing, Ranger? Like, and he's like, hey, I got a question for you. I got a question. Hey, do you have a minute? He's like, I'm going out. I don't have a minute. And he's about to leave. His mom is like, oh, that's perfect. You should take a Shooter McGavin with you. He's like, I don't want to do that. And she's like, just show him the sights. He's like, oh, Mom, the sights. He's like, that sounds great, Buckaroo. I could sure see the sights of this small little piece of Americana. He's like, yeah, just fucking follow me. And they get in the car, and they go to the malt shop, chat. They're going to get themselves a malt, and they get their little fucking ice creams, and this is fucking Hogarth. He's going to bamboozle them. He says, no, the thing that you need to do, Mr. Mansley, is what you got to do. He's like, well, what are you doing, Slugger? He's like, look, I got the chocolate bars, right? Take the chocolate bars, and you crunch them up into little pieces, and you put them and mix them in the ice cream. And he goes, oh, really? And it tastes pretty good. Yeah, man, it tastes great. But we see, chat, it's not an ordinary chocolate bar. He gave him some Choco laxative, chat. Fucking Mansley's going to be shitting himself for weeks. And so at this point, chat, he just fucking starts digging. He's like, oh, my God, this is... Oh, it's delicious. And he's like, yeah, it's real good. Usually it's gonna have, by the way, the once you get down to the bottom, oh, it's just an explosion in taste, and also in your gut. And he goes, what? Yeah, no, it's great. It's great for you. And he's like, so listen, kid, I just want to ask you, about the happenings going on right here. He's like, oh, yeah, I heard about all that crazy stuff on the radio. He goes, it's true. All this kind of nefarious things are going out there right now. You ever heard of Sputnik? And he goes, yeah, the first unmanned satellite in outer space. He goes, nah, the first foreign satellite in space. As we sit here and enjoy these fucking malts right now, you little shit, Sputnik is going around orbit, boop, boop, spying on us, taking pictures of us, of all of our various American shit. I won't stand for it. Okay, and Hogarth's like, well, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? Do you not understand how this is a threat against national security? People just want to be safe, Hogarth. They want to be safe. They want to be secured, and it takes people like me to keep them safe. Yes, I have to do certain things. I gotta do bad things to do my fucking job, but I'm not crazy. You're crazy. And all of a sudden, everyone's like, what the fuck is going on? Because he's just accosting this kid, and then he's like, oh, I'll be right back. And he waddles to the bathroom, chat, and is just shitting his bowels out, chat. The communist, Hogarth, the communist. He just continues to fucking shit. And Hogarth's like, just stay right there. And Hogarth's like, nah, fuck that. And he goes, chat, back to the scrapyard, where he's going to hang out with the Iron Giant and Dean. And he gets there, and he's like, Dean, you were fucking freaking out. What's wrong? He's like, oh, actually, we're doing pretty well. Like in an earlier scene, the Iron Giant was chewing. He was trying to tell the difference between, now that's scrap, and this is art. And what you're eating right now, Vin Diesel, is art. And Vin Diesel's like, art? He goes, yes. He's like, oh. It's like this little metallic tree he made, and he puts it on the ground. He's like, That's actually pretty good. That's not bad. And that's what they've been doing for the entire day. He's had the Iron Giant help him with all his various arts and crafts projects. And at this point, Dean's is having a blast, and Hogarth's like, "Why you gotta fucking doing stupid arts and crafts stuff?" He's like, "Well, what would you have him do? What He's like, "I have a few ideas." And what he does is he straps himself in a car, this Cadillac chat, buckles up, and he's like, "Okay, atomic batteries to power, engines to speed," and we have liftoff. And the Iron Giant grabs the car and he spins him around, chat. Like in a fucking cycle. He's like, he's like, his whole fucking face is jiggling and shit. Until then she's like, and we're landing. Because he's fucking severe. This kid's severely concussed. And eventually they land. And Hogarth's like trying to hold his head. It's like everything is spinning. Everything is pain. And Dean's like, all right, that's enough excitement for today. He's like, no, man. No, we're cool, man. We're the coolest cats in Coolsville. And it's like, okay, cool cat. Well, what do you want to do next? How about we go to the lake? How about that? We can relax, have a good time, have a good swim. And Dean's like, all right, gonna relax, but no fucking funny business. Let's not get crazy. He's like, of course not, man, of course not. And so they show up to the lake. Fucking Dean, he's got his goddamn chair out there. Hogarth, he's just like, woo! He's hopped up on chocolate and caffeine and ice cream, chat, and so much dairy, copious amounts of dairy. And he jumps on top of this rock, falls down to the lake. By the way, it's the middle of fucking October, so in Maine, so it's very cold. And he comes up, and I love how he's like, oh, the water's fine. And we see that he actually starts to turn purple, like, over time. It's very funny, because it's so cold. And it's like, you should get in. And he's like, Dean's like, haha, no. He just sets up his little chair, his little folding chair. Has his coffee right there, the extra shot of espresso, just starts reading. He's like, oh, whatever, man. Hey, you just jump in. A giant. Giant's like, oh. And he, like, just walks away. He goes, you big baby. And all they hear, Chet, is this thum, 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 thum. And, like, that's weird. And the fucking Iron Giant just jumps over fucking Dean. And Hogarth's like, oh. And he just lands in the lake, Chet, and just, this giant fucking tidal wave just lifts into the air, and Dean, he like looks over his paper and goes, oh, because he sees this giant wave coming at him. He's like, oh, he hides under his paper. He's like, he can't do anything at this point. He's like, I'll just be here. And it just engulfs him, chat. Engulfs all the flora and fauna of Maine, chat. We see a fucking family of raccoons just trying to swim, chat. You see possums. You see these birds are just like, just all fucked up. And eventually we see Dean just end up in the middle of the road, chat, just kind of like holding on for dear life the entire time until eventually he settles. And we see this pig farmer in this truck with all these pigs in the back, like, pull up right next to him. He goes, hey, you're in the middle of the goddamn road. And Dean's like, yeah. He's like, you're in the middle. He's like, yeah. He's like, all right. I love it. And he just drives away. Meanwhile, we come back to the lake, and the Iron Giant has basically just destroyed this natural habitat, chat. Like, 3/4 of the water is fucking gone. And Hogarth's like, woo, woo, yeah, like in this tree. Hilarious. Meanwhile, chat, we cut back to good old Kent Mansley, chat. Schumer Gavin still pooping. He still can't help but poop. And so he's interviewing all of these various people, chat. He talks to a farmer, chat, whose livelihood has been destroyed by the Iron Giant. His pickup truck is gone, chat, and his grain silo has also been destroyed, chat. So that's how he supports his family. And the Iron Giant took that from him, chat. Kind of shitty. And Shooter's like, ooh, bubbly guts. He's like, where's your bathroom? He's like, outhouse. And he continues to shit, chat, keep shitting. Talks to all these other people. Eventually, he goes back to the woods, chat, trying to find things. He's like, go, bubbly guts. He goes behind a bush, chat, and this is just a sad man because he's sweating. He's sweating profusely. And he's like, oh, God, you want to ever see a 2D cartoon man shit, chat? If that's your fetish, check out the Iron Giant because this man is just going to town. And then he's got even that walk of shame, like he's kind of waddling because his asshole's just been on fire from all the poop. He's like, oh, God, Jesus, God. And he bonks his head into something. He's like, what the hell? And he finds it's Hogarth's camera, chat, in a tree. He left it there. Shooter more like shitter, pretty much. He's got the cleanest bowels in the country. Those are America's bowels. And he's like, oh, shit, this is his camera. He might have captured the Iron Giant on film. And eventually, chat, we cut back to good old Hogarth and the Iron Giant. And they're just walking around. Dean's like, that's enough fucking excitement for me. Okay, I almost died in a fucking tidal wave in the middle of Maine. And so he goes back to his scrapyard. Meanwhile, Hogarth, the Iron Giant, they're just exploring the forest. And they come upon one of nature's beauties, chat, a deer. And it's this little bucket, so cute. It's like, it's like Bambi, Chet. It's like fucking Bambi, the king of the forest. And Hogarth's like, look, it's a deer. And Vin Diesel's like, family? He's like, yes, deer's family. He's like, family deer. And they watch it, and eventually the Iron Giant gets close, and the deer's like, what the fuck? But the deer doesn't know what this thing is, so it's not afraid of it. And the Iron Giant like puts his big derpy iron finger out there, like, oh, and the deer like starts to like nuzzle and sniff at his finger, and they hear like a branch break, get stomped on. The deer's like, whoa, 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 and just kind of like walks away, kind of trots away, and Iron Giant's like, oh, it's Hogarth's like, oh, it's okay. He probably just heard something, wants to go back to his family. And then, bang, we hear this fucking gunshot go off. And Iron Giant's like, oh, scary sound. Hogarth's like, oh, no. And they come, chat. The Iron Giant follows the sound. And we see these two hunters who are over the body of a deer. Like, this will be good for eating. And then they see the fucking Iron Giant, like, oh my God, it's the monster. Oh, run away. They drop their guns and just run. They hightail out of their chat. And Hogarth's like, oh no, it's dead. They killed it. He's like, dead. And he goes and pokes it. It's fucking dead now because you smush. He goes, he just smushes it. He goes, oh. He's like, this is what guns do. They kill. This is the anti-gun message, the anti-violence message in the movie. And this was not originally in, I believe, in the book. But Brad Bird wanted to emphasize this because of the murder of his sister. And so the Iron Giant's just poking it. He's like, he doesn't understand. He's like, stop. He lifts it up, trying to like get on its legs. He's like, stop doing this. Oh. And he's like, you don't understand. Like, this is what happens. Like, things die. He's like, die? I think that's what happens. We go back to the and then we go back to the scrapyard at that point because the Iron Giant's like really confused, and they start having this conversation. And he's like, die? He's like, yeah, well, everybody dies. I mean, it happens. You know, the deer died because it was shot. But death in itself is not always bad. Everyone does die. He's like, you die? He goes, someday, yeah. He's like, family. He goes, what? He's like, what about me? And he goes, I don't know. I don't know what will happen to you. You seem to be able to put yourself back together. Maybe you will live forever. He goes, oh. But he says, but that's not a bad thing because my mom believes that in each and one of us, if you're a good person, you have a soul. And when the soul leaves your body, it goes away and it goes someplace else. And you get to live a new life. You get to live something else. And he goes, soul. He goes, yeah, I have a soul. My mom has a soul. Dean has a soul. And you have a soul. You're a good guy. And he goes, family soul. Yeah, you have a soul, bro. And he goes, well, listen, you go ahead and sleep here, okay? You go sleep here, and we'll have more of these conversations tomorrow. Oh, by the way, when he sees the fucking gun, he starts getting fucking flashbacks. He's like, your eyes get all fucking red and like really creepy. But he snaps out of it. He's like, everything. But then we're at this scene right here. He's like, you go ahead and sleep, okay? I'll be back. He goes, okay, bye. And he leaves, chat. And then we follow good old Hogarth. He's on his way home. And then from out of the goddamn darkness, chat, fucking that's the thing, Kent Mansley. So he went back home, chat, and he turned their bathroom into a photo development studio. And so he's got all the red lights on there. He's developing the photos, and he sees in one of the photos, chat, Hogarth with a picture of the Iron Giant. He goes, there's the little shit. There's the Iron Giant. Fucking got him. And when Hogarth is heading home, oh, by the way, the mom's like, I brought that 4-ply toilet paper for your shits. Mr. Mansley's like, just leave it by the door. Thank you. Oh, you get the bubbly guts still. But then, chat, Hogarth, as he's going home, chat, all of a sudden, fucking Kent Mansley grabs him from out of the darkness and drags him into the bar. He's like, I need an adult. I am an adult, buckaroo. Oh! And he's like, okay, you got to stop fucking around with me, all right? Your mom's not here. You're very curvaceous, big bosom mom, I've noticed, is not here right now to protect you, okay? He's like, what the fuck are you going to do to me, man? He's like, I know about your friend, the Iron Giant. He's like, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. He's like, oh yeah, what about this picture right here? And it shows him the picture of the sheet metal. He goes, I don't know, that's sheet metal. What's that mean? He's like, oh, that didn't start your memory going. How about this? That didn't ignite your memory. And he throws him another picture, and it's a picture of Hogarth and the Iron Giant. And the kid's like, God, that could be anything. Oh, that could be anything, huh? You know. I heard you get into a lot of trouble sometimes, Hogarth. Thank you! Yevon Good, thank you so much for subscribing. That tier 1, thank you so much, good sir. Cheers and salute to you. Hope you're enjoying the review so far. So, fuck you, Mom, I'm gonna die. So at this point, kids like that could be anything. It's like, oh yeah, that could be anything. Okay, you know, Hogarth, I heard you get into a lot of trouble, and there's a lot of bad things that can happen to people. I mean, something bad can happen to you. Something bad can happen to your mom. You know, if something happens to your mom, we'll have to take you away from here. I mean, that would be bad. You never see her again. He's like threatening, like, I will kill your mom or I'll just separate you two. He's like, you can't fucking do. He's like, I can do anything. I work for the government. I can do whatever the fuck I want. And you're going to tell me where this thing is. And he's just, holy shit. He's creepy. He's a really bad guy, Chad. He just hangs his head in defeat. And he's like, is at McCoopin. He's at McCoppin Scrapyard, you know, off of 35. And he's like, yes, I got it. And he goes in the kitchen, Chad. Oh, before he does that, he's like, you did the right thing, Hogarth. Does it smell like chloroform? And he chloroforms a child. In a 2D animated movie for children, he chloroforms a 12-year-old boy. Go sleep. He's like, and he goes to sleep. And then he puts him in bed. He changes him. I don't know how the fuck he changed him, but he changes him into his PJs, and he puts him in bed. And the kid's like, but he wakes up and he hears Shooter McGavin like talking the general. And he's like, he gets out of his bedroom, and when he turns the corner, fucking Shooter McGavin's like, where you going there, Ranger? And he's like, fuck, you'll never get away with this. Oh, Hogarth, the army's gonna be here in the morning. We're going to find your big iron friend, don't you worry. All right, buckaroo? Sounds good? Hogarth, like, takes off. Like, he runs to the window trying to escape, but the fucking window has been nailed shut. He's like, yeah, you can't go out that way, scout. And he's like, and he just gets in the bed. He's like, I'm going to make sure that you're not going anywhere. Your mom took a late shift, so it's just you and me, Chief. And he sits down, his bed across the way. Well, Hogarth, he puts on his dad's flight helmet. We see a picture of his dad getting into his jet fighter, and he just sits there like this the whole time in bed, just looking at Shooter. And Shooter McGavin just looks at him like this. And they just do a fucking staring contest, a stare-off chat, and it's hours and hours, and they're getting more tired, more progressively tired. And eventually, until Hogarth looks like he just fell asleep. And Shooter McGavin, he's like constantly half falling asleep and stuff until eventually it's like 7:30 in the morning. He's like, he like almost falls. He almost falls down. He's like, and he catches himself. And then he sees like but Hogarth, because he has the helmet in there, he's still sleeping in the bed. He's like, I got him. And then suddenly Hogarth just walks past me going, how you doing, Kent? And he goes, what? And he runs over to the bed. And he sees that Hogarth bamboozled him, Chad. It was just a bunch of pills, the helmet there. He's like, that little shit. And eventually, he's like about to go downstairs, but then Annie comes up beside him. He goes, excuse me, Mr. Manley. Can you tell me why the army is in my front yard? He's like, everything will be explained very soon, Mrs. Hughes. I think little Hogarth, he's been involved in some very dangerous things. And they're like, what? And they all pile into these fucking cars, Chad, and they go to McCoppin Scrapyard. And they all fucking pull up there, wee woo. And General's there too, and you know Dean's just gonna lean against his house, is waiting for him like the whole time. Eventually they get there, and you know General steps out, and you know Mansley steps out, and Shooter McGavin's like, "Hey, you fucking beatnik, show us where the giant Iron Man is." And he's like, "Oh yeah, sure, I know, yeah, he's in back, I'll show you right now." And they're like kind of weirded out by like, why is he being so easy and lackadaisical about this? But he just continues to talk. He's hitting on fucking Hogarth's mom. He's like, listen, I just had like an industrial stop by here the other day, and he already placed a pretty big bid on it. But the thing is, he wanted like now. He wanted right now. And listen, I just did the finishing touches on this thing. It's like I just gave birth, and maybe I just want to appreciate my beautiful baby that I pushed between my pale, milky thighs. Okay, all right. Maybe I want to appreciate it a little bit more after I just gave birth to this beautiful thing. And he fucking opens it, and they walk in. And they see the Iron Giant chip, but it has all this scrap on it, making it look just like a piece of art. One of Dean's pieces of artwork that he made. And, you know, Mansley's like, but it was moving. And the general was like, Mansley, get your pale ass outside. He's like, yes, sir. And they go out there, and the general is just laying into him. It's like, you fucking prick! We spent millions of American taxpayer dollars on this operation. You're through in D.C. You're through in every goddamn place, Mansley. You're fucking fired! And he's like, oh, geez, bad. And meanwhile, Hogarth's just enjoying himself, just like, yeah, you son of a bitch, we got you. We bamboozled you. Meanwhile, Dean and Mrs. Hughes, Chad, they're such a cute couple. Because she's like, oh, so this is the reason why Hogarth has been spending so much time here, the Iron Giant and everything. He goes, yeah, exactly. She goes, no, it's a good-looking piece. I mean, I don't think you need everything on it, though. It's a little too much. And he goes, you think? She goes, yeah, this piece over here, I think this is much, much nice. He goes, really, you like it? And she goes, yeah, you have quite the eye. He goes, really? What else do you like? He's like, I like you. He's like, oh, like, just fuck already, you two. Jesus Christ. Mom, Rule 34 Mom and 2D Jeff Goldblum, they would make beautiful 2D baby chat. We all fucking know it. And eventually, though, Mansley and the general, all the soldiers, they just pile back into the cars and they just drive away. Just sad. They are just sad, chat. While Dean, he goes ahead and he goes back to, work on his art. While Hogarth and Iron Giant, Vin Diesel, they start playing some games. And fucking Hogarth, he wants to play Space Invaders. And he's got his father's flight helmet on. He's got this, like, little sparkly, like, ray gun. He's like, the enemy is right in sight. And he climbs up on these cars. He's like, there he is. And he starts firing off. But the Iron Giant's like, no, we don't want to play this game. He's like, well, you can be a Tomo. That's what you are. He's like, no, a Tomo. And he sees this giant S sign. He takes it off the S and he hangs it on his chest. And he goes, Superman. He's like, okay, Superman. He starts like, well, freeze, Superman. He starts firing at him. But the gun starts like fizzing out. He goes, stupid gun. But the Iron Giant like stares at the gun. We go inside of his head, and we see that it's like has all these readings, and his eyes turn red. And like suddenly, this giant fucking like energy cannon comes out of his hand, chat. It forms as well. Hogarth, he jumps down trying to fix the gun, and it just fires where Hogarth was, just blasts the area where it was, chat. And Dean turns around and goes, what the fuck? He sees this going on. He starts running over there, and Hogarth, he fixes the gun, and all of a sudden the Iron Giant kind of goes, he's like snaps out of it suddenly. He goes, what was that? Family, bro? And Hogarth, he climbs back up, and he's like, okay, the gun's working. Freeze! And he starts firing again, and the Iron Giant's like, foremost target identified, and he, his hand forms into the giant gun again. And right before he's up, because Hogarth's like, what, a giant? And right before the Iron Giant's about to blast Hogarth, Chad, just turn him into cinders, 2D Jeff Goldblum jumps in front of Hogarth, grabs him, Chad, and they hit a car. They hit a goddamn car just trying to cover him up. And at this point, the Iron Giant, he's like, oh, he comes to again. And Dean's like, get the fuck out of here. Stay away from him. Stay away from him. Even Hogarth's like kind of freaked out. And he's like, he's like, I'm sorry. It's like, no. You get out of here. You get out of here, all right? Stay away from us. And he's like, and it starts to snow, and he's crying, Chad, and he runs away. And Hogarth's like, wait, it's okay. I don't know what happened, but we gotta chase after him. He's like, Hogarth, he's a giant iron monster from another planet. We don't know what he can do. It's dangerous. He's like, he didn't understand what he was doing. He was just scared. He's like, Hogarth, and Hogarth just starts running. But then Dean, he realized, he picks up the toy gun. He realizes, oh my God, he acted in self-defense. That's what it was. He thought this was a real gun. And so he gets on this fucking motorcycle. He catches up with Hogarth. He's like, you're not going to catch him on foot. Let's go. He's like, yeah! And they fucking go on the bike and they chase after the Iron Giant. Meanwhile, chat, we see the Iron Giant, he's just really fucking sad. He's crying and shit. Or he's kind of like, Robo family hate me. He hates that, his bro. And Robo family hates him now, Chad. Oh, it just tugs at your heartstrings. And he's just like walking around all sad and stuff. And eventually, Chad, we see the military convoy. They're getting out of the town of Rockport, Rockridge, or the fuck it's called. And Manley, he's just stewing in like personal resentment, chat, and anger. But he sees, chat, in his rear view mirror, objects in the mirror are closer than they appear, chat. And he goes, what the shit? And he sees the Iron Giant in the rear view. He's like, oh! And he accidentally crashes into the one vehicle, chat, as he stops, and he gets smushed. And he crawls down. He's like, this is the giant! And they see it. And he's like, oh my God, Jesus Christ, let's get over there. Meanwhile, Chad, we see these two kids are looking through these binoculars and they spot the Iron Giant like in the distance, like, oh my God, there he is. They're like, hey, give me those binoculars. And the thing is, they're over like a precipice, Chad, and they got stupid, derpy, fleshy kid legs. And they go, no, and they trip over their derpy legs, Chad. And they're like, the binoculars get caught on like this, like the edge of this gargoyle or some shit. And they're like, hey, not for dear life. And all people in town are like, oh my God. And they're like, someone save them. And they're like, help us, we're slipping. And the Iron Giant hears this chat. He's like, Superman. And he runs to fucking town. He's and he gets their chat. Right before these kids are about to fall, he catches them in his palm, chat. And he lowers them safely to the ground where all the people are. All the people are right there. And they're like, what the hell? But they're like amazed because they saw that he saved these kids. And no one's freaking out. They're probably freaked out, but no one's like, kill it or something. And eventually Hogarth and Dean, they get there, chat. The mom, she sees all this too. She sees the fucking Iron Giant. She's like, holy shit, what the hell's going on? And, Dean's like, hi, listen, there's a lot to explain. I'm sorry. She goes, goddamn right you are. But we see Hogarth walks up to him and the Iron Giant's like, sorry. He's like, it's not your fault. It's okay. It's okay. And everyone's like looking at him like amazed, like what he just did. And Iron Giant like offers a hand. Hogarth goes in it and he puts him on. Oh, he's holding him like this. He's like, you're a good guy. You're not a gun. He's like, no gun, Superman. But then all of a sudden, the town's like, this guy is cool. We like him. Bah, boom! The army starts shooting at the Iron Giant and they fire a missile at him. And the Iron Giant's like, oh, because it's like coming right towards his chest where Hogarth is. And he turns himself around and he takes the brunt of the missile on his thick iron Vin Diesel back. He's like, ugh. And he falls over and he fucks up a building a little bit. And the army's just like, fucking shoot him. And he's like, whoa. He's trying to protect Hogarth the whole time as he's running around town, chat. Also trying to avoid stepping on people and stuff. It's like Man of Steel, except he's not a sociopath and a murderer. And so he's moving around and everything. And the army's just trying to lay into him, chat. And eventually, he just keeps running. He's running towards like the edge of town, like towards this cliff. And the army just keeps peppering him with missiles and machine gun fire until he's finally like hit off of it. So he's like, oh, and him and Hogarth start like falling. Chad's like, oh, this could be their demise. But all of a sudden, his systems like come back online. Certain things like they activate, like instinct, Chad. And he has like a jetpack and jet boots. And Hogarth's like, holy shit, you're flying. He's like, flying just like Superman. Superman. And they blast off into the air. And we see that the mom's in her truck and she comes, it's the iconic image here you see right here, Chad. It's beautiful, where he's flying in the air and the mom is seeing him in the truck like that and he shoots up into the sky. It's a beautiful goddamn image, Chad. Love this piece of artwork right here. But he shoots up into the air and he starts flying. He's like, just like Superman. He's like, yeah, he does the bum, ba bum, ba bum, ba bum, just like that, chat. But the fucking general at this point is like, fucking get the jets on board. They contact, Dwight Eisenhower, Chad, at this point. Like, we got a fucking, either a Ruski robot or a Martian robot or a Chinese robot. In any case, it's not good. We got to take this sucker down, unleash the jets. And so we get an aerial battle, chat, while the Iron Giant is like, he's trying not to hurt the jets, but he's also trying to protect Hogarth. And eventually, he's kind of like, reminding you of the scene from Iron Man, 2008 Iron Man, where he's moving all around the jets and trying not to destroy anything. But eventually, Chad, they shoot him. And he takes damage. He starts falling out of the sky. And he's like trying to protect Hogarth. And so he kind of like, he takes the brunt of it on his back, but he hits the ground, Chad. Boom, boom. And he just starts skipping. And he can't control his body. Until eventually he stops in this giant snowbank. And he's knocked out, and he comes to. He's like, ah. And he's like looking for Hogarth. He's like, what? Hogarth, bro. And chat, we see just off to his right, little Hogarth. And he sees Hogarth, and Hogarth is not moving. He's like, bro. And he starts poking him, and he's not moving. He's like, oh, he starts crying, Chad. He's like, no, dad, friend is dead, family. And he's just like beside himself with grief. And he's poking him and nothing's happening. It's like, oh my God. And all the military shows up, chat. And he's just like on his hands and knees, like just so sad. And they just fire at him. They start shooting at him and everything. And that's the thing too. This is another thing to show what a piece of shit Mansley is. When Dean he goes to the general before like they go off into the air during that aerial battle. Dean tells Mansley, listen, it's a self-defense mechanism. If you don't just shoot at him or point guns at him, he'll be fine. That's all it is. He has the kid with him. Okay, he's just trying to protect the kid. And then Mansley's like, okay, I'll be sure to tell the general this information. He goes to the general and tells him, yeah, listen, he killed the kid. We got to make sure he's dead. So he didn't give a fuck about that kid. Mansley's such a piece of shit, Chad. Shooter McGavin, always an asshole. Always an asshole, Chad. But then, as they're just laying into him, Chad, the guy doesn't affect the Iron Giant in any capacity. He's just absorbing it. And he breaks. He breaks. And all of his weapon systems come online, Chad. The little dent he had in his head, which gave him like his amnesia, that pops up. And he gets all these fucking laser cannons on his arms. He has these weird scorpion-like hands that come out of his back. His head's like in a giant like Mysterio dome. And he has like knee pad rockets, Chad. And he just starts going forward and just blows them up. He has like an antimatter gravity weapon that absorbs a tank and just turns it into nothing, turns it into green goop. It's like, holy shit. And Mansley and the general, they just fucking take off running. Eventually, Dean and Rule 34 Mom, they show up and they're like, oh God, Hogarth. But Hogarth's fine, Chad. Dean says he just has a concussion. He just knocked himself out. It's okay. And he comes to, they put him in the car and they go after the Iron Giant. Trying to go back in the town. That's where they're going towards, Chad. Because at this point, they're like, all right, nothing's fucking working on him. We're going to have to bring out the big guns. We got to bring out that WMD, Chad, the weapon of mass destruction, the atomic power. All right? And we gotta just get him to this one location and see what we can do. And so eventually they get there and they're blasting. He's still blasting everything. And they have this barricade where they stop the car. And they arrest Dean and Rule 34 Mom. And it's like, you don't understand. We just take the kid to him. He'll stop all this. He'll stop. And the soldiers are like, what kid? What kid? And they see that Hogarth, he's just taking off running. And he's going right towards the Iron Giant, who sees this massive battleship off the coast of Maine. And he wants, I'm going to shoot the fuck out of that. And he's about to go over there, Chad. He's just revving up his giant, Iron Man arc reactor cannon, and right before he's about to blast it, Chad, Hogarth says, Giant, stop, and he kind of turns a little bit, and it just misses the ship, Chad, and blows up in the horizon, this just huge, it looks like energy blast, and he's like, you don't need to do this, you're not a bad guy, you're not a gun, and he's just staring at Hogarth, Chad, like he's revving up his cannon to shoot him, and he's like, you always have the ability to make a choice, you could choose to be a good person, you could choose not to be the gun. And he's like, not gun, Hogarth. And he sees Hogarth, bro. And he powers down, He powers down his beam cannon. All the weapons go away, and he turns back to his regular form. And at this point, Mansley's like, we gotta shoot him. We can lead him away from the town. We can detonate a nuclear device over there. It's like, are you fucking crazy, Mansley? We're not gonna do that. Are you out of your goddamn mind? And he's like, well, if we just lead him out, sir, we can take him out. He's like, I'm gonna see what happens here. He's like, well, I got him on standby. He has the nuclear missile on standby, Chad, right off the coast. And eventually, the Iron Giant just picks up Hogarth. And he walks back into town, and he puts him down in front of everybody. And the general's like, holy shit, the kid was right. He's fine. And Mansley's just like, fuck it now, fuck it. And he grabs, because the submarine guys, nuclear submarine guys are like, sir, do we have your orders, sir? Please let us know, yes or no. And then Mansley just grabs the radio out of the general's hand. He's like, fire the missile now! And they fire the missile, chap, boom! And at this point, the general has a great line, because he grabs Mansley. He's like, Mansley... You do know that the missile is tracked on the robot. Mansley goes, yeah. And where's the robot, Mansley? Where is it? And he's like, oh. Oh, no. He goes, yeah. And it's like, nah, we get to die in nuclear hellfire for our country. He's like, for our country? Fuck our country. And he grabs a soldier, Chad, pulls him out of a car and just takes off. Iron Giant just, boom, smushes him like a bug, Chad. The death of man. He's not dead. He just stops him from escaping. And General's like, yeah, put that man under arrest. He gets to die with the rest of us in hellfire. And all the soldiers and the town people, Chad, they're just they're so sad and scared at this point. And Iron Giant doesn't understand what's going on. He's like, I thought everything stopped. I think we won. And Hogarth, you don't understand the missile. It's going up right now, but when it comes back down, everyone will die. Everyone will die. Also, there's another funny line where Mansley, with Shooter McGavin's like, we'll just duck and cover. We'll just do the thing in the video. It's like, that doesn't work, you idiot. He goes, it doesn't? It's like, no. But at this point, these Iron Giant's confused, and Hogarth explains like, when the missile comes down, it'll hit, and we'll all die. He's like, die? He's like, yeah, there's just nothing we can do. And at this point, Iron Giant remembers what Hogarth told him. He's like, Hogarth, you stay, Giant, I go. Hogarth's like, no, don't do that. And he's like, bye, Hogarth. And he blasts off. And right before he blasts off, Hogarth says, I love you. And it's such a beautiful moment. He says a beautiful moment. No following. Yeah. And he blasts off there, Chad. And the score here is amazing as he just goes up into the air, Chad, goes through the fucking atmosphere. And the missile, it goes through the atmosphere in the space. And it stops, and it turns around, comes right back down. And the Iron Giant, he's like looking at this thing. And he has the famous line, Chad, Superman. And he closes his eyes, Chad, as the missile, boom, it makes impact. He explodes. He just explodes, Chad, right up there in the atmosphere. We see the explosion. The music just swells. And we see the perspective of all the people in the down below as the plays across their eyes. And everyone's like, oh, my God. Oh, God. It's so sad. And in the town, there's like, he sacrificed himself for us. He died for us. And we see Hogarth just look up into the night sky because all the clouds are gone, super bright. And he sees the shining star, which is the explosion, until it starts to get dimmer and dimmer and dimmer and dimmer until nothing. And then we cut, Chad, like a year later, and we see a statue, the little star. It's in the inside of a statue of the giant, which is made by Dean, Chad. It's like in honor of the Iron Giant and his sacrifice for protecting the town of Rockport. And it's like, oh, and like, Dean's enjoying it. She's looking at it. And then Rule 34 mom, she comes up. She says, I think this is probably your best work. And honey, she calls him honey, Chad, like they're dating or they're married. All I know is she's finally getting that D, Chad. She deserved it. Her husband's been dead. She's been raising a son. She's working late nights at the diner. I'm glad she's getting some, Chad. Fucking Rule 34 mom deserves it. And he's like, really? You don't think of my other thing that I made? You said last week that you liked this other sculpture. She's like, yeah. I mean, the one with the insect thing with the shovels. I mean, that's good. He goes, mm-hmm. Oh, they're so cute together. And she calls off. She goes, oh, Hogarth, let's go home. Let's go home for dinner. And he goes, okay, Mom, okay. And so he runs on over. He's playing. He has all these friends now because he's like, you're so cool. You were hanging out with the Iron Giant. And like, oh, they're playing football. And she goes, oh, by the way, because Dean says, oh, by the way, Hogarth, I just got this package from the general. By the way, he thought this should go to you. He opens it up, and it's a piece of the Iron Giant. It's the only part that they can find. They would never give that to him, by the way. They would study that thing for decades to come. There's bullshit. They would just give that to him. He's like, oh, all right. It's a whimsical 2D animated film. Later that night, he goes home, Chet. He's sleeping in bed. He has the part in the box. And all of a sudden, Chet, it starts shaking. And he wakes up, and he looks at the box, and the box is like it's been knocked over. And he sees the little screw, Chat, start to tap on the door, trying to get out. And he goes, and he opens it, and he goes, bye. I'll see you soon. And it rolls off into horizon, Chad. And then we cut to Ravelshavelborksbork, Iceland, where we see all the parts of the Iron Giant start to like move towards a certain thing, Chad. And we see how the mist and snow, the Iron Giant's head with the little antenna going boop, 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 boop. And his eyes open up, Chad. And he gives a big, broad smile to the audience. Family. And that, my friends, is Brad Bird's 1998 2D animated underappreciated classic, chat, The Iron Giant. Also, Mansley's executed for war crimes. There you go. The Iron Giant lives. Not running canceled. Haley Brad Bird only directed 6. I know, it's crazy. You think he directed so much, but hey, he made a lot of money off these movies, I guess. 3 years later, the animation team behind the drone would make 8 Crazy Nights. Yup, that is the same. I know, it's like this is the same animation style as 8 Crazy Nights. Awesome telling. Thank you. The Iron Giant lives. Brad Bird has always talked about how it's a very self-contained story. It is. But part of me, like watching it now, is like, you could potentially do a sequel to this movie. One of my patrons, I forget who said it, the day we did a watch party, but I thought this was brilliant, where they said, what if the movie takes place like in real time? It's 20 years later. because it came out in 1998, so it's like 23 years later. And Hogarth is, he's an adult, he's married, he has kids or something, and the Iron Giant's still around. But what if you had other Iron Giants landing on Earth to try to check on the progress of what's going on? And you could set up the whole alien thing. Like, was the Iron Giant originally sent there for nefarious purposes, chat? Like, we don't know, really. I mean, he has all those weapons. He has all those advanced weapon systems. It's like, maybe he was. And I think that's a really cool idea. I forgot who said it, but all the credit to you is like, that would be brilliant. I would love to see something like that. Yeah. But I hope you enjoyed Iron Giant, 8 Crazy Nights, and Quest for Camelot's shared universe that we all need. Excellent. Yeah, like DBZ. Yeah, exactly, like the plot of DBZ. Oh, what happened? You got some insane memory for these reviews. It's like class where it all disappears after, it just remains somewhere to pull up later. It's weird. With movies, it's very easy to me to remember a lot of things, especially ones I really, really enjoy and like. It just stays up in there. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. So the same year that Joe's released, Disney released Toy Story 2 and Tarzan. Yeah, some entertaining film. I'm not the biggest Tarzan fan. It's not a bad movie. I think it's fine. Toy Story 2 is great. It's a classic. Yeah, Chad. Number 5 out of 5 juicy bands from Europe. I didn't say it was Sweden. I said it was Iceland. Do I have any Icelandic listeners or viewers? But thank you, though. Thank you. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the review. I'm going to take a brief break, chat, to refill my beverage, and then, chat, the Toon reviews continue. I am doing a scene-by-scene breakdown, chat, of Batman, the Animated Series, episode 29. One episode away from the big 3-0, chat. Eternal Youth. Be right back, chat. Stick around.